Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another Wellness Wednesday with the JN Group family. I am your regular host, Kamala McQuinney, and welcome to the JN Circle Life Class Series, week number 2. Last week, I think we had an awesome start to our series, and this week is going to be just as amazing, if not more. So before you get settled in, please go ahead, message your friends, message your family, tell them we're back in the space with another awesome conversation, and invite them to join us. Okay? Now, this evening's conversation is entitled Looking Back to Look Forward. And I promise you, we have 3 amazing panelists who are going to be walking us through the journey of creativity in crisis and how to set intentions and practical things in place for a winning 2021, all things being equal. All right? So, without further ado, let me introduce you to the panelists. We have with us the lovely Nakita Mullings. I'll tell you more about her in a minute, but just to say hi for now. We also have the debonair Ryan Dixon. Show us your lovely face, Mr. Dixon. Hi. And we have Roshane Dottie Berry, which many of you know. So show us your face, please, Mr. Berry. The smile that we all know and love, right? So before I get into that, I want to share a couple quick housekeeping matters because, we have to keep the house together so we can have a wonderful time in the class this evening. So I'm going to again share screen very briefly just to walk us through what it is that we're going to be doing for this evening. So you know our topic? You guys can see my screen? Just say yes.
Yes.
Awesome. So as I mentioned, I am going to be walking you through the convo. I'm Kamala McQuinney. I am a therapist and coach, and you can find me on social media at White Lotus Blooms, which is my brand. Our panelist, as mentioned before, Ryan the Debonair Dixon. He is a professional master of ceremonies, and we also have our very popular and well-beloved YouTuber and social media personality, Roshane Dottie Berry. And we have, as I mentioned, Nakita Mullings, who is the owner of D&N Flash Errand Services, and she's also a JN Circle member. Some of you are new to the space, some not so much, but for those of you who may be new, a quick refresher on using the platform. We want to keep it interactive, so we're going to introduce you to the chat feature, within which you can drop in your comments. If you're feeling the energy, just start the things them in the chat. We also have the raise hand feature, which at different points I'll ask you to use if you want to indicate that you want to come on microphone and ask a question of our panelists. And of course, we also have the Q&A box, right? Which will allow you to ask questions specifically of the panelists. So the chat is just for talking, for saying, I love this, for saying big up JN, for saying, I love that point. But the Q&A box is specifically for asking questions that you want the panelists to be able to see and respond to. And we're going to have some giveaway quizzes so you can utilize that box also to share feedback at that time, okay? So before we're going to start off this session, asking you to respond to the Thrivometer poll to get a sense of how you're doing today. How have you been in over the last couple of weeks? So we're going to ask you to respond to that. And as soon as you finish, we will share the results so that we can have a sense of how the room is and how we're all doing and what we're expecting from this evening's class. Okay, so I'm going to minimize that for now. And I'm going to invite Nakita Mullings to come on video, come on stage as it were. Hi again, Miss Nakita. Please remember that you're muted, so please unmute. I know so many of us are so
No.
the way of Zoom right now, right?
Right.
Yes. So Nakita, as I mentioned, is a graduate of the University of the West Indies. She did her bachelor's degree in management studies. She is, importantly, a member of the JN Circle Brownstone chapter. So all of you who have a JN chapter in your community, please to become a member because big things can go on for you if you're a member, right? You can help to transform your communities. And this evening, we're zoning in on Nakita's role as the owner and the head of the D&N Flash Errand Services, more commonly known as Flash, which she started on December 1 in 2017. So Nakita, let me start off just fasting a little bit. What possessed you to take up your degree and decide that you wanted to go into entrepreneurship? What was the vision?
Hi, Kamala. Hi, participants. Good evening, everyone. Very good question, because sometimes I wonder if I'm crazy. Like looking back, I'm like, yo, this is a really mad person. but it's a passion for service. Growing up, I've always been involved in service clubs, anything philanthropic, anything to help and to give of others. It makes me feel very good within, even in this space, showing up, helping others, whether it's a word of encouragement or whatever it is, it gives me joy, and I'm happy to be here. So that was my initial reason for starting Flash, just to give back, to see those smiles, to see, somebody else, I can help them to accomplish something. So yeah, that was my main reason. And for the degree, we'll just put it down
For
so I
now.
can show my kids.
And I believe that nothing is really wasted. And so
No,
you learned, and the experience of being trained at UA obviously has contributed
yes.
to your journey. So tell us a little bit more about D&N, right? Flash Services. What
So,
exactly do you do? What do you
okay,
offer?
so in Flash Around Services, we are a full service errand company and we operate out of Ocherios. We provide errand services to the needs of the corporate community as well as individuals. So if you want to get your lunch delivered to you, if you need something to be done at the tax office, if you don't like going to the supermarket, or when you go you overspend, you can give us your list and we will buy according to your list and deliver it for you. We have chauffeur services available. We have a variety of needs available, and we also have premium errands that we do, that takes us outside of our geographic area, which is Ocherios, that is all over Jamaica. But those are at a premium cost, and those have to be a requested errand.
Got it. So right now in 2020, Nakita, I know from my personal self that I don't like to have to join the long lines, especially because of the physical distancing comfort level. And
Right.
so I have been
Mm-hmm.
drawing on errand services in my neck of the woods. So I can imagine that many people are more so than ever drawing on what you're offering. Tell us about 2020 in particular, before we even go back to the beginning piece. What has 2020
Mm-hmm.
looked like for you?
Wow, 2020 has been enlightening to say the least. It has been a year filled with a lot of uncertainties and a lot of unknown. But throughout it all, we remain grounded, we remain firm, and we look to our passion to see why we started, or why, so we could be here 9 months into the pandemic. Um, as many of us might know, I am from Ocherios, and that's where my business is located. And we are a tourism-driven area. So whether we make tourism directly or we make it indirectly, but all of our money is related to tourism, and we have had a complete fallout from that sector. So it has been difficult to say the least. However, we remain grateful. We still have those customers who needs our services, and we still also have those persons who depend on us. um to say 2020 has not been difficult
Will
would
not be
not be
true.
true. I've had customers who are not able to do their regular errands, that I used to do for them because of the fallout of jobs. And, you have to just prioritize now and do what's important. I particularly have to assist customers, with particularly, like, normally they would send their bills, I would pay them, and they would reimburse on delivery. But no, sometimes I have to wait a day or 2 days, sometimes up to a week. But it's the relationship that we have formed over the years, and when I needed them, they were there for me. So now that they need me, I have to show up in a space and be there for them. So relationship building was very important in building the company.
So Nakita, am I hearing you correctly? That you're telling me that you so trust the customers with whom you build
Yeah,
relationships that you can hold off a little bit until they reimburse your money?
yeah, man, I have phenomenal customers.
Wow.
I I would say I have the best customers in Jamaica. Those are the same customers who nominated my company for a Jamaica Customer Service Award the other day in association with PSOJ, and we won one of those awards. So I have some my network of customers. I
Mhm.
serve some amazing people. So if I have to show up for them, I definitely do show up for them because they show up for me.
That's so good. And what I'm hearing too, Nakita, is I hear that over the 3 years that you have been in business, you have been building the relationships. And now
Yes,
I hear that commitment to serving people coming out strongly, right?
yes.
What does that look like for your team members? Do they have the same vision? Have you been able to communicate the facts that listen? At Flash, We help, we serve, and we're
They
committed to it.
they do. And I tell them, I own Flash on paper, but together we all own the company. Because if you are not able to serve the customers in your capacity, when that income goes away, then all of us will be affected. So you have to treat the business like you own it. So on days when I show up and give 60% and you can give 100, I expect you to do that, you know. And I also ensure that during the pandemic, I kept all my employees. I ensure that I kept all of them with their full salaries. And I was the one who said, listen, I have to cut back. I have to now start practicing some delayed gratification for myself so that my team can stay motivated and that they can show up in the space every day to serve myself and the customers.
Wow. So Nakita, it sounds like as when we're in primary school or high school, we learn this proverb that says, uneasy is the head that wears the crown.
Yep.
It sounds like you are leading from the front in a very pragmatic way, because what I think I heard you say just now is that you took less for yourself in order to keep everybody getting a piece of the pie.
I did. At the end of the day, my focus was just to ensure that those recurring bills that will affect operations are paid. Anything else could have waited, because I wanted to ensure that they went home, they had food for their kids, they had a family. Because I have very young employees, but they have a lot of responsibility, and I wanted to ensure that they showed up for their families, you know, and they don't feel like they're coming to work in vain. So I had to do what I have to do for them, and honestly, it pays off because they are like my right hand now. Like, yeah, man.
That's beautiful and powerful. And from
Thank
past experience, I also know it can be very scary. Entrepreneurship can
Oh,
be a treacherous road.
so let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
For the rest of the segment. Certainly. Listen, I have never had to do therapy until I started Flash.
Wow.
I have cried. I think my biggest cry was the passing of my mother, but then Flash as well. Those are my two biggest cries.
Wow.
Imagine looking forward to something, you're passionate, purposefully doing something, and something happen and you see that like taking its time, moving away. Because when the pandemic just started, we all didn't know what to expect. So,
Exactly.
you know, that take like it's just slowly getting away from you and you're trying to hold on to it, but you don't know what to hold on to because it's just a lot of unknowns, you know. So definitely.
Yeah. Would you say that
I about this because I can tell you the anxiety, the panic, the worry, the stress, the going to your bed with a headache, the dreaming about Flash, you wake up in night and yeah.
you dream about Flash?
Of course, I do. I wake up in the night and even sometimes when my personal phone ring, I'm answering Flash Around Services. How may I help? I'm like,
You're completely in. All the way in, yeah.
yeah.
And I know that for many entrepreneurs, that is maybe the only model that we know, to be all
Yeah.
in.
That you have to be all. You have to be all in.
Yeah.
And that's when I hear people talking about, oh, they need to start a hustle or they need to do a side hustle or anything like that. I always tell them, you see, your passion drives your purpose. And people are not always passionate about a hustle because it's just a means to an end. And once you have satisfied that particular need, you don't feel, you don't want that hustle anymore. You move on to another hustle. So for the rest of your life, you keep hustling and jumping through hoops and hustling. So you're never settled. So I always tell people, listen, you have to figure out what you love, what you're passionate about, what drives you, what gets you up out of bed, what makes you stay up, you know, and that's what you have to delve into. And don't do it because you think it's easy, because people think my job is easy because barriers to entry is low, don't require much startup. That's what they think. But let me do the planning and organization that goes on behind the scenes, the logistics and everything. If you don't have a knack for it, if you don't have a passion for it, do what you enjoy or pay somebody to do it for you.
So these are already some very powerful tips from the powerful Nakita Mullings. Nakita, we're going to pause for just a second to pull up the results of the poll that we asked our wonderful audience family to share. And I'm going to read through. The first one was, how would you describe your current mood? We always do this. Have an emotional check-in. 51% of you said okay, 31% said happy, 6% said sad. So, a mix of emotions, which we fully understand. The second one, during this year, I realized the value of having an entrepreneurial mindset, including a side hustle. 64% of people say yes, that's very telling. And only 7% said no. What are you expecting from this class? The majority of persons are saying two things. One, tips on how to move beyond challenges, just generally, and tips on how to prepare for a successful new year. I feel like this year has taught me the value of growing through challenges. 78% say a big resounding yes. And the final one for our pre-poll is, how do you feel about creating an additional stream of income? 42% of people, and this is where Nakita's expertise comes in, interested but unsure of how to. 12% say interested but afraid. 3% not about that life at all, right? And we don't wrong them. And 28% say ready to start. 15% of those who are on right now are already doing the thing. All right. So we're talking to the right people at the right time, Nakita.
And I love those people because, as I always say, everything that goes good, everything I want to do, I said, Nakita, I love that for you, and you have to get it done. Because remember, God loves you, girl.
Listen. So, yeah. And I'm seeing so many glowing comments in the chat for you, Nakita. Sia says, very impressive, proud of you, Nakita. Your story is inspiring. Donna says, oh, so proud of you, my baby. Is that your mom or your, no, you're not your mom. Is it your?
That's my mom, though. That's how Donna, like, she is, and she's tuning in from Florida right now.
We so welcome you, Donna. Thank you for showing so much love to the lovely Nakita and for joining us this evening. So Nakita, me know and you know, the entrepreneurship looks sexy on social media, but there is a very real unsexy piece to it.
It does.
And especially in pandemic, I feel like many people, as the poll shows, they are now thinking, okay, 9-to-5 jobs are not as secure as we like to think. So I'm interested to dabble on that side, but many people don't know how. So you dropped a couple powerful gems already. Number one, do it from a place of what you love. Because you can't fake it for too long. That's number one. Yeah. Number two, the commitment piece is everything. If you're not going to follow through, then nobody start it. So don't come with the hustle mentality, right?
Don't get anybody else wrapped up in your commitment and you're not going to start, because that's how you lose trust. So when you're ready to start, nobody will believe you. It's like the sheep who, so the guy who cried. I don't remember that story. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Don't get too many people wrapped up
in your commitment. Be sure, have your plan first before, because people that I want to start this, I'm going to start this, but come to me and say, I have started this. How do you help me to push it further?
Yeah. And Donna is correcting us, the guy who cried wolf. Both of us are just not off on it right now. Yeah. So in terms of getting started, you're saying plan and then don't dabble too much in the what ifs and too much in the analysis paralysis. Get to doing something towards it.
Every day, make a small step to that vision, because it's those little steps that creates the whole at the end of the day. So, and this book tells you, the Eat the Frog book by Brian, I don't remember his name, that book, just make some steps, do it step by step, a day at a time, make some small steps, and over time, you're going to be so impressed with yourself and the progress that you have made to get to your why.
And Nakita, part of why it's so inspiring talking to you and hearing your very loud passion is the fact that many businesses, based on statistics, do not survive. Many small, medium enterprises don't make it beyond 2 years, right? And so you are at 3 and growing and just getting deeper and more passionate, and your brand is obviously resonating with so many people, right? I have a question to call you out on, Nakita. You're talking a good talk, But my question to you is, if you were in a 9-to-5, right? Would 2020, do you think you would have felt nudged to go in the entrepreneurial direction, to have something on the side?
If I was in a 9-to-5, I would have been an attorney. Because that's where I'm coming from to get into entrepreneurship. And the only reason I left that behind for now is because I was not the attorney. I was a paralegal. And it wasn't, the means to an end were not there. It was barely there. And I wanted more for me, and I had more in me. So to answer your question, it would have fueled me, yes, to start what I am doing now. But thankfully, I had the guts and the courage 3 years ago to step out and start.
Do you have any regrets?
Absolutely none. And I'm being honest. The only regret I have is that I never started a year sooner, but I don't even regret that, because everything I've learned up to today has prepared me for this moment.
I believe
I have
that.
no regrets at all. But I'm sure to do law someday. That's my passion. And I was telling my father the other day, I said, Daddy, I will go to law school, even if it burned down, I'm going to walk in the ashes. But I love, that's another part of me that I love and I want to uphold.
I love it. You mentioned earlier Nakita, and I say Auntie Donna talking about the fact that you hate to be boxed in. So she knows you very well.
She knows her. Yes.
Yeah. So 2020 has thrown some of us some curveballs. And that's why we thought it fit to have session 2 focus on how we have had to be creative.
Yes.
And how, by looking back, we can plan for what, because let's be honest, the pandemic ain't over, right?
It ain't over.
So we have more pivoting and more creativity that we're going to have to tap into, right? So for those persons, I think it was about 15% of our viewing audience who said that they are already doing something, right, on the side, so to speak, or maybe full time. How would you guide them and advise them in terms of staying grounded and staying afloat come 2021, God's willing? That's right around the corner. What are some of the tips you would share?
And that's a very good and pertinent question, because a lot of opportunities came out of 2020, and that those 15 persons were able to start a business, and maybe a very lucrative business right now. But I'm telling you, I'm speaking to those persons right now. Very important. You need to set up the legal framework for your business. That's very important. And take it from me, who is unlearning to relearning new things. Your business registration is important. Your taxes, just your whole governance structure of your business. Because now you have found something out of a crisis that you love and something that you will pursue in years to come, right? So I'm saying to you, first of all, your governance structure is very important. Second thing is you have to embrace innovation. You have to be innovative and creative, because you have created a product or a service out of a need to be innovative. Another thing is build very good and lasting relationships. No two customers are the same. Doesn't matter what business you're in. No two customers are the same, and learn to meet persons where they are until you can get them where you need them to be.
Akita, tell me more about that piece, because I'm very curious about that part.
When I say you must learn to meet persons where they are, and you will get them to where you want them to be, there's no one size fits all. You might have a customer today that comes up with something and said, I want this to be done, but I'm only able to offer this or do this. Don't say to that customer, no, I can't do it because this is my business model and this is what I'm doing. Try to tweak your model in that moment to serve that customer, because tomorrow you might end up serving 5 more customers with that exact need. So that customer might be preparing you for what is to come. And very important, lastly, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you think the customer needs you more than they need you, vice versa. Customer service is very important. And it's more important than even your business structure. So put the business structure second and customer service first, because these are the people that make you and they can break you.
Are you seeing an increase in any particular type of errands during pandemic? Because I know you're offering a nice wide array before. What are you seeing in terms of the trends during this very interesting year?
Tax office errands. I go to the tax office 6 days a week, and they're only open for 5 days. So you must understand what I mean. tax office errands, supermarket errands, those have increased tremendously since the pandemic. Because you know, tax office, even before a pandemic, usually have long lines. So you can imagine now. And supermarkets. And I get a lot of overseas clients as well, because yes, I do have clients in the diaspora who have parents who live here who have asked us to go supermarket shopping for them on a weekly basis. I have a customer who lives in Philadelphia in the US, and every single Saturday morning I get her parents list to do shopping for them. You ever hear people say you can put on your pot for that little money there?
Yes.
I pot for that. So yeah. So those two have definitely increased.
Excellent. I'm loving it, Nakita. We have a couple questions before segue from this first segment. So we have someone asking, how can they get help to start their own business? And we are happy to tell you that the JN Small Business Loan is here and ready to connect with you to walk you through the steps, right?
And that's one way. But when you said, how do you need help to start your business? First, you have to identify what the business is and maybe look to somebody, maybe a mentor or somebody who is in the business. Or you can go to you can do maybe like what do you call that now? Like mystery shopping. So you go into other businesses, similar nature, see what they're doing, do your research and everything. And then in all businesses, in all areas of business, there's at least one person who will be willing to take you under their wing to guide you, you know. So those are some
the crucial part of it. So having the curiosity to say, I want to learn more, I want to refine my ideas is a very important piece of it. I am seeing the hand of Taki Henry raised. Taki, do you have a question for Nakita? If so, we would love to extend the micro to you to welcome you on stage so you can engage with Nakita. Okay, so Taki's not ready for us. And Nakita, there's one question in the Q&A box for you. What about persons? Vilia is asking, what about persons who have started online businesses? What legal/business structures do they need to set up to operate or continue operating? So I'll let you handle it.
Okay, business is just without brick and mortar, but you definitely need the same strategy. I mean, you need to go through the same ramifications, the same processes for your business. So you still need to register with the Companies Office, whether as under the Business Name Registration Act or under the Companies Act, depending on the structure of your business, and also depending on the risk of the business. So if it's a low risk business, then I recommend that you do a business name registration. But if the risk is higher, then I recommend a company registration as well. You still need to speak to somebody who is versed on taxes, who can get you abreast and with tax office, because that is very important. Because as important as it is to have a business and be doing well, the government of Jamaica needs their money. So it's very important for you to pay your taxes, do your deductions and stuff like that. So even though you're an online based business, the same rules apply.
Well said. And Nakita, I cannot let you leave us without talking us through a little bit of the self-caring part of it. Because we're talking about looking back to look forward. How are you going to be making sure that you are managing your well-being in light of the fact that we still have a little ways to go? Re-COVID-19, unfortunately, COVID 2021 now, right? So what are some of the things you're putting in place
to make probably my favorite question of the evening, because self-care is so very important. And the first thing I want to say on that, which is the most important thing, is self-care doesn't have to be your nails. It doesn't have to be your hairstyle. It doesn't have to be anything that costs you. Just has to be something that centers you, something that makes you feel at peace, and something that calms you down and gives you redirection to move into another phase of your life, or whatever it is that you need redirection to do. So self-care can look like a day at the beach, you're reading a book, you calling a mentor, you just doing something for someone. However, if self-care for you is getting your nails done, getting a massage every now and then, have a budget for it. just as how you have a budget for your light bill and your water and everything like that, you cannot neglect that budget, and you have to ensure that it's in the top end of your budget. So whatever your needs are, whatever your financial situation is, have a self-care that matches that, because you cannot self-care with your rent money, because you're going to live on street. All right. So self-care, always remember this. Self-care is picking up the phone, calling Nakita. Nakita, you don't have to say anything. I just need to vent. Self-care is drinking 5 liters of water for the day for clearer skin.
Yes.
So what that centers you and propels you to move forward. I definitely recommend that you do that.
Perfectly said. Nakita, we see some connections being made here among the Jane circles, because Kenneth Holgate saying that he's available for support for those who need tax needs, and he is in the Spanish Town circle. Pick up yourself, Mr. Holgate, sir, right, over the Spanish Town circle. So we can form these linkages even on the call and among the JN circle. So if a JN circle is in your community, so many resources are available through those. So make use of them. That's one more.
I love that too. JN circle, it's very important for if you love to serve and to give back and networking, stuff like that. I implore you to join your nearest JN circle. It's done by nomination. So if you know somebody who's a part of a circle, or you can just walk into JN, let them know you're interested. They will pass your information on to the exec or the circle in itself, and then we can assist that person in making a step in the right direction. And if everybody who is listening on right now, no matter your age, it's always good to give back. No matter what you're giving back, it's always good to pay it forward. And we're looking at 2021 to come. Just remember, it's always good to pay it forward. No matter how small or how insignificant you think it may seem to you, it's a big deal to somebody else.
Absolutely. And it's also one of the strategies for self-care and for increasing our levels of well-being. When we focus on other people, it can do us a work in lifting our mood and just wiping up.
And that's why I'm so happy every day.
This is good. And you're sending so much of that happiness into the space.
Yeah, I tell people every day, like, I'm not sure. People, this is me. I tell you, Flash, I love it. And I love my customers. And I love showing up for them like no other.
So clearly passion.
Yes, I love it, man. I love it. Love it.
I love it, Peter.
Yeah, man. I drive taxi our countries just that I'm more disciplined than the average taxi man, you know, but I love showing up for them.
I love it. The final thing I want to ask you to share with us, Nakita, is this. As we're looking forward now, what maybe is there anything that you have experienced, that you have witnessed in your own business and your personal space that you're clear you're not taking with you, business-wise or personally, into 2021? Anything that wasn't a good strategy that you kind of look back and say, that perhaps wasn't the best way?
Yeah. The pandemic happened, but it's an experience. It's a pivot for goodness. And two things I'm sure I'm not bringing into 2021 with me is impulse. There are a lot of times that you do things on impulse, and they may not be bad things. Maybe it's an impulse buy. Maybe it's whatever it is that I do on impulse. I need to be more focused and more centric about what I'm doing, you know, and I need to see the end goal and not just do it because I feel so anxious and anxiety is here. So I'm just gonna act on impulse and do it and hope for the best. So I'm trying to center myself to stop acting on impulse. That's one thing. And number two is diversify. Very important. The core of my business is delivery, and going to 2021, I'll be adding tenets to the business. So there are two things that will be coming on stream within a couple of months. Between now and February of 2021, I'm going to add 2 other tenets to the brand, because diversifying is very important to me, and the need to not rely on impulse so much.
Why, Nakita, I'm sure we're going to be seeing so much more of you out there in the big world, in the global space, because you are focused. You are focused, you are passionate, you are clear in where you are going and what you want. You are committed to your why, which is serving others, using your gifts and
Always been that.
connections to benefit others, right? You are happy, you're made happy by this work that you're doing. And so I
I
feel like
am.
we're going to be seeing
I'm
you.
fulfilled.
Yes. And I'm so intrigued by how the pandemic has been creating additional inputs to drive your business,
Yes.
because look at how people are
Yes.
foreign are more connected to the fact that, listen, my mom has to get this thing, this list of groceries
Yes.
this weekend. So that's a
One of the
very
most,
interesting way.
before, one of the most touching errands I did recently. A lady, she lives by herself. She's 85 years old. She lives alone. Her family lives in UK. They asked me to go to the Flow store in Ocherest to get her a cell phone and to bring it to her at the house. And I did that. But I'm like, I cannot leave this woman alone just with the phone. She's 85, I set up the phone for her, showed her how to video call, because there's an app that you can use for folks that age that has like, so you can tell them exactly what to do. I set up the app for her, and I was there with her even for longer than I was being paid. I was making sure she okay. Then a couple of minutes, her granddaughter called me. She's like, thank you so much, but we need somebody to stay with her. And I'm like, and I'm kid you not, within 1 hour, I found them a lady who could live in and stay with her, because this could be my grandmother. Like, and that was my last review on Google. So if you go on Google now, Flash Errands, my Google page, that's my very last review. And I did not expect that review. And that review came from England, from a girl called Jess. I was so patient with her, because this is what I love. And I don't do just what I get paid to do. I always do a little bit more, or as much more as I possibly can.
Listen, it
Because
does
what I'm getting,
good to hear this.
so I definitely try to do a little bit more at all times.
Love it. Steve Nugent says he's proud of you and this has been a good business talk. Nakita, how can people find you? Are you on
All right.
social media for those who are
Yes.
very savvy?
So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook at _errand services. And you can reach us at 42876-420-6235.
So look here, we have to support Flash because Flash is supporting so many people so
Yes.
altruistically and so passionately, and it's so inspiring. Nakita, we love it. We absolutely love it. Let me just do one quick check to see if there are any other questions for you before we transition into our next segment.
No problem.
Initially, Maurice says, very well said. I
My
learned
best
things
friend.
tonight. She says that you are very knowledgeable, which we can all attest to, right? Rose Miller says, awesome testimony, Nakita. Judine Palmer says, love it. Hashtag kudos to you. And we have some persons here who are sharing their services as well. So it's a good look all around, right? While you're here, Nakita, since you are such a giving person, let me just feed on your energy to do a giveaway, or first giveaway of this evening.
Yes, I'm here for
from our beautiful JN family, hashtag JN Cares. So every week when you come to live class, we have at least 3 things that we're going to give away. And for right now, for those of you who have Digicel telephones, you have the chance right now to win for yourself $1,000 in call credits. You can top up your data, call your people in my foreign, come back to live class next week with the data, right? For more niceness. So let's go now. For those of you who have a Digicel phone, I'm going to read the voucher number and you're going to get it. And when it's you win, you're going to type me in the chat, okay? So the numbers are 23258 2750 0490. And if it's you get it, just scream out in the chat, right? And Mr. Donna working for you, Nakita. Donna properly put.
Listen, let me tell you something about my Auntie Donna. She shows up for her niece like nobody else.
I love it.
Yeah, man. My Auntie Donna, and she's been showing up from the day I was born to today's date. She's always present. Yes.
I love it so much.
Self-care for me is I call her like, Auntie, just pray for me. And I just pull up on the side of the road and I get a word.
That support. And we all need it, especially when we're on this very intense journey of entrepreneurship, and especially entrepreneurship in a pandemic, right? We have a winner. Tamara has won for herself $1,000 credit. Big up yourself, Tamara. Nakita, thank you so much. Do you have any final word for us before I know you have to transition to another event?
Yeah. My final word this evening is your passion drives your purpose. Looking forward to 2021. Be passionate about what is it that you want to do so that you can find purpose in doing it. And I wish us all the very best for 2021. And I hope to see you and connect with you guys. And since we've been talking, I've been checking my phone and I realized request from Flash page, so I'll follow back. And thank you guys.
Awesome, sir. Thank you so much, Nakita. Have an amazing rest of 2020. Thank you for sharing your stories of creativity and pivoting with us. I am personally inspired, and obviously our JN family members are also very inspired. So thank you so much. Just big up and blessings to you. And I definitely need to talk to you again after this because the energy is just so beautiful. Can we just my Instagram handle one more time in the chat?
Okay, so it's Flash_Errand Services, and that's for Instagram and Facebook. We are also on Google, but Flash Errand Services, and our number is 420-6235. Thank you so much for having me this evening. It was my pleasure to show up in this space and impart knowledge. And all the questions and all the well wishes, I am grateful, I am humbled, and I will continue to serve. And Kamala will definitely speak after this. And it was my pleasure. You're a beautiful host, and thank you.
So much. Thank you so much, Nakita. Talk soon.
Bye.
Let me welcome, while Nakita is stepping off stage, let me welcome the two gentlemen, Mr. Debonair Ryan Dixon and the ever bright light of Roshane Dottiberry. Welcome onto the stage, please, sirs. I am so excited to delve into this piece of the conversation. Not even catching my breath already. Are ready to pass on the business, right?
Kamala. Can I just do this for Nakita? I want to share my jingle bells with her.
Listen, Nakita, I'm sure she's receiving it where she is. That was an amazing session because hearing the passion, hearing the commitment that it takes to put yourself out there is a really powerful thing. I mean, people can talk from textbook, but when you're walking the walk, it's another level of inspiration and practicality. And we're going to segue into this segment now with Mr. Berry and Mr. Dixon, because I want to talk about all the things that come with putting yourself out there. So this segment is about putting yourself out there professionally, and then we're going to talk about the personal piece of it now, right? And I see Berry smiling already because he know that I come in straight to all the things that we prefaced in yesterday's convo. So for those of you who don't know the debonair Ryan Dixon, let me give you a brief intro into what it is that he does so that we can be all more familiar in this space, right? So Mr. Dixon is a professional master of ceremonies who has been emceeing events for over 15 years. Ryan, you sure that that number is correct?
It is correct.
Okay, I won't argue. He is energetic, charismatic, humorous, and eloquent. Being a quick thinker and very creative, he makes moments at events both enjoyable and memorable. So he specializes in events such as weddings, which are taking a very interesting downturn in this season, anniversary celebrations, bridal expos, television and radio programs, etc. He studied entertainment management at the Vocational Training Development Institute and public speaking and radio presentation techniques at MTI at CPTC. So for all of your event needs moving forward, we're spotlighting all of our panelists tonight, right? You know where to go. The debonair Ryan Dixon. Thank you for joining us, Ryan. And Mr. Berry needs very little introduction. He is one of the most successful YouTubers from Jamaica, right? I don't know if you'll agree, but I think so. He has been at it for several years. He has been awarded the Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in his chosen field. And he has been sharing space recently, talking more on the personal side of it. And I'm excited to hear about all of it this evening. So first of all, gentlemen, how has 2020 been treating you? Let me start right there in a very general sense. Ryan, you can go first, please.
Wow. 2020 has given me some good licks, has opened my eyes, has been quite a life changer.
For many of us.
I don't think I need to add anything else to that.
A life changer. Yes.
Certainly has.
Barry, how about for you? How would you describe the journey so far?
I mean, this year has been interesting. It's been a roller coaster. It has been a year of stress, trials, but also, a year of what I consider like a lot of life lessons. You get me? Being learned. So overall, the year is interesting. That's what I describe it as.
Interesting. When I talk to people these days, I feel like sometimes we might feel a little bit shy or guilty to highlight the fact that there have been some good things that the year of 2020 has brought. For you, Barry, is there anything specific that you can highlight that 2020 has brought to you that has been positive?
I mean, yeah, 2020 finally allowed me to recognize I guess a little bit more in detail that what I was doing, is a legit career, what I'm doing in terms of creating content. I looked at myself as just, a YouTuber, just some videos, but I realized that, hey, I'm basically a television set just based at home. And so when everybody transitioned to working from home, and I was talking to friends and realizing that they were also working from home, I realized that no, I wasn't doing anything different. I've been doing this for well, like since 10 years ago. I was ahead of this entire thing. And so it made me like, wait, I was, in the future all along, like I was there. And so it made me realize that YouTube is fully my 9 to 5. I should get up every day. So it made me go and get this where I put like my topics and put things. Now I'm getting like, oh, professional. This is where I
Streamlined.
get my little webcam now. I now have my little area where I'm building up as my little work area. I didn't really have it before. It was just like, oh, I'm do a little video around the corner. No, I am. I think this year has allowed me to really put some respect on this idea of being a content creator, and I felt like it legitimized my career, and also allowed me to finally start a second channel, something that I've been wanting to do for a couple years now. But yeah, when you lose some streams of income, you'll be like, hey, I need to find it elsewhere.
I love it. And
Mhm.
you are pretty much tapping into pivoting and being creative. That's the
Yes, the
pivoting.
key word.
Yes. And so I'm very curious, as I'm sure many of our audience family members are, to hear from Ryan with the changes, let's just say changes, in how many weddings are taking place and how they're taking place. What go on over your partner, Ryan? How is it manifesting in a practical sense for you?
Well, you know what? It it started out great this year. My calendar was looking pretty good. Um, Even right around the pandemic, I tell you, just the month of March alone, I had about 6 or 8 weddings canceled, postponed at the time. Still is postponed for the most part. And of course, needless to say, as the year progressed, more and more of the weddings that were scheduled would have been postponed, and others that would have been coming in never came because what happened, nobody knew how long this pandemic would have lasted and when it would have ended and if it would have ended. So you found that there was a lot of uncertainties surrounding having weddings and other events, because I don't only do weddings, I do corporate events as well. And you found that a lot of those consistent gigs that you would get annually, the graduation period that I would have had, they never came. You'd have your occasional workshops that you host and so on. They weren't coming. So you found, like Dr. Berry said, you found yourself with a lot of time to think, re-strategize, and look at other means through which you can approach having an income, which certainly I've had to do because I'm not about to sit and wait for something to happen. I'm preparing to make something happen, right? And that's what had happened. I was able to start doing things remotely. So I started hosting online. I've done quite a bit of that. And, it allowed me to reinvent myself, to take a new approach, to appreciate having a forward thinking mind and being able to not be stagnant, but be flexible enough to adjust and reapproach what you're doing and what you love.
Reinventing is the I hear that word in so many spaces for the last 9 to 10 months. Reinventing is one, pivoting is another one, creativity, right? Re-engineering. We have all been forced to do this. And I feel like it's not been fun. And sometimes we weren't sure how to really make it happen. But I think we're all the better for it. Would you both say?
Certainly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so Ryan, with the cancellation piece of the story now, or the postponement piece of the story, how have you been managing that part of it practically? Because I know that when people, you know, when they can't travel to Jamaica, all of that, when all the logistics are not coming into place, there's anxiety, there's anger, there's sadness, and the money part don't always, line up the way it ought to. So how has that part been going?
Well, it just took being an understanding individual on my part, first of all. I could have been hard and fast with clients because in my business, persons will give you deposits, and that deposit is then used to do other business, looking forward to another flow of income coming in and so on. And truth be told, we didn't plan for this pandemic. We really weren't expecting it. We've always taken for granted saving for a rainy day. Well, hello.
Rainy days here.
Rainy day came. It sure
Rainy
came.
here.
Yeah, it was showers of just unexpected expenses and so on. Thankfully, I wasn't far away from having some savings for a rainy day. But notwithstanding, nonetheless, I still didn't have the resources to return everything that I had gotten because persons started calling in. So I had to get creative. I said, listen, I can allow for us to do this later on. Let's reschedule. Let's transfer this to someone else or to another occasion, which will come back. And
Pick up
have
in right there, Ryan, because I like that. I like that pivot. You said that you have allowed persons to transfer the services they booked you for
right,
to somebody in their network, in their family, a loved one or a friend.
yes, right.
That's brilliant, actually. I love that.
Right. I had to get creative and just have a one-on-one heart-to-heart conversation with my clients for them to understand. Because in my business, and I know Barry can relate to this, you don't just look to do an event with someone one time only. You want to create a relationship that will, you know, create further income, further opportunities down the road. And that's really how my business has been profitable to me. It was the word of mouth from the quality service I offer, the relationships I formed with previous clients that would, call you again later on for someone else in the family or another friend or their company. And the list goes on and on. There are times where you find that there is a connecting thread of events that I host because of the quality I would have done at the initial stage and the relationship I would have had, the professionalism with which I operated, and that just made good business sense. So I wouldn't want to come off as being harsh and
Consider it.
inconsiderate, thank you, towards my clients. I really allowed for us to reason things out, and come to an amicable conclusion and understanding of how we can both move forward in a beneficial way. And that so far, for the most part, thankfully, has been successful.
And Nakita referenced something earlier, that word trust, and that thing of building relationships. And I feel like so many of us are literally banking. We are going to the bank to make withdrawals based on the investments we have made prior in terms of building relationships. So that's a huge lesson for me for 2020, that we need each other. And 2020 has shown us that we need each other even more than we previously thought. Whether it's in a client vendor relationship or in a romantic partnership or in friendship, we just need people. So 2020 has shown me that no man is an island. And especially if you're trying to earn some money and put yourself out there in a venture such as what you and Barry have, it's a huge piece of it, right? No, Barry, I heard you mention something that kind of ties in with what Nakita shared earlier. The idea of honing and refining your concept of what you're doing. She spoke about, listen, be clear, what are you offering? Be clear on what your why is and so on. And I hear you talking about finally giving yourself the due, right? Recognition that I don't know, little something I do is a real full-on entity. You are a professional and you
I,
are an industry
yeah,
leader.
yeah, I know. I'm very humble, I'm humble to a fault. And so even though I'm here, I'm in this space for 10 years, I still get excited and feel as if the only legitimate people are people who, the radio station are, at these other places. So I feel like, oh, if I'm not doing that, then I really am not doing anything. And so that in of itself, it's not really a good thing. Because you have other persons who have come up and realized that this is a business. And I so now that I'm here, I've had some sort of awakening, and it has been very good for me. So this year has been I've been the most consistent that I've ever been on YouTube, and it's because I've realized that this is my 9 to 5, and the other things that I might do in terms of a one-off host here or a one-off appearance, that is my side hustle. But the YouTube is my 9 to 5. It's what covers my my bills and everything. And so I've been able to lean into it as well, and so it's worked out for me. So I feel bad. I'm like, all these years that I've been on YouTube, I have never done this well, and I'm not even working at 100%. You get me? And so that has been a lesson. I'm like, wait, so all along I thought I was busy. I was really just like idling. Like this is real, like busy now. And so that is it. And the second channel that I've been able to like come up with it's you look at the space, and I've observed and realized that people want more, like relatable content. And so I talk a lot about what I consider like news. You get me, like pop culture news. And
Yeah.
so I'm recognizing that the space is changing, and there's a reason why you have this massive progression of people even from the music industry and landing on YouTube. You see a lot of artists and people pivoting there, and it's because people want to be engaged. Like I will take I will take 24 hours or 3 days to edit one top 10 social media countdown talking about topics, when people would rather just like sit and watch me eat a curry chicken, curry chicken and white rice with my grandmother, and all we have to do is to just have the phone and sit here, press record, eat that for 15 minutes, and when I'm done, just upload it. And I'm sitting here for 4 days editing one video. And so that's what that second channel is, because I realized that people want these easy breezy, relatable content, and I'm like, I'm going to tap into that. And so that's very exciting for me right now. But it's all because of this crazy year that has allowed me to see my career like this.
Listen, there's so much learning there, and I hope you're turning this into content, these learnings into content
Oh yeah,
for
man. Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
channel.
Year in review, 2020
Coming up.
reflections video coming up. Yes.
I mentioned that, Berry. I want to draw Ryan in on this piece now to talk about his year in review. So obviously there have been some, like what like a whiplash effect, right? If you were to kind of put down on paper, Ryan, some of the major lessons from 2020, and then kind of frame that into what you're setting out to do for 2021, what would that look like for you? So lessons learned and how that's going to impact how you operate in your chosen field for the new year.
Well, I will repeat this point I made. Always have your rainy day money put down. You're just in case. That is something I've appreciated more than ever before, because truly we've never seen a rainy day like this. This is one that was just beyond
Rainy year.
imagination. You would have had that 1 month or that 2 months that it kind of low on funds, but
Yeah.
to not have an income and to be spending and to survive this pandemic during the height of it, for me especially, because I've seen others who were able to keep their job, those who were in the conventional 9 to 5 jobs, they were okay. They weren't crying as much. Some persons were complaining about not having or they're getting a pay cut. I'm like, you have a pay still, right?
Okay, to cut.
You understand me? I don't have nothing cutting. So having that rainy day money, that saving put aside, that investment put aside, was one of the main things I've learned. A second thing would be having multiple streams of income. Dr. Berry says he's looking at that second channel because that's another stream of income. Because truthfully, I'm one of the persons, I will say, the pandemic everybody got caught off guard, but being caught off guard with not many options or multiple streams of income And that's one of the things I will never allow to happen to me again. I will ensure that whatever income I have, as best as possible, it is all weatherproof. So if it's not one that I have to be there physically in person, it still can operate. It can still earn me some money. And you saw, a lot of forex. I'm not promoting anything here, but just their options. So look into those, and that's one of the things I've had to do, and will be doing going forward, having multiple streams of income. And the next thing, my third point, is to always have that healthy state of mind. And I know Nakita was talking about it, that self-centeredness, that phone call that you need to make to vent, that walking down on the beach. I did a couple of those earlier this year. Went down to Palisados, parked up, and walked along the shore. It never cost me a dime except a few dollars for gas, but it was so relaxing, so peaceful to hear the sea and the breeze and the birds flying across, and whatever it was just relaxing to walk over to the other side, or whichever side of the water you were on, and just wet your feet. It allowed me to center myself in the chaos and to think, because you don't think clearly when you're being combobulated by everything, the cares, the worries, the stresses that's happening. You don't think as clearly when you can center yourself and accept that this is your reality. Now you need to go forward. How do I go forward? That's when you start thinking, the creative mind will start working, and you'll see the opportunities that are there before you. Because sometimes the answer is right before you. You always had the resources, but you just never took the time to really appreciate it and to give it that serious look. And that's what I've had to do. That's what has kept me going. I mean, I could have lost my mind, but I was able to center myself and look at, okay, Ryan, you have to keep going. You have to take care of you, and there are others depending on you. Let's go. Let's go. It's not time to quit. And I'm still going. I am still going, Kamala.
Listen, Anissa says having an emergency fund is highly critical. So she's fully agreeing with your point. And Rose Miller is cracking me up. Rose says, come on now, Ryan, preach it. She says, we can recruit you for the Be Wise Financial Empowerment Program. Maybe something can work out for you, Ryan, right here, so. She said, well said, rainy day fund and multiple streams of income and then some. Like Rose's vision, not only just for, for the rainy day, she said, and then some, right? And I think all of us would do well to have some and then some put down. So it's a call to action for many of us to think on these things. And let me tell you something, I feel like 2020 has awoken so many people who felt as though the 9 to 5 is a sure thing. Like, look here, I have a nice job. Nothing can move me until retirement come or sickness, but I'm here forever. And COVID-19 was like, oh, really? Let me show you that style here, right? And we've seen so many people, as Ryan said, discombobulated by just the swift downturn and all the implications of same for, employment and so on, right? Barry, I feel like you want to say something right there, so.
No, I mean, Ryan is speaking 100% facts. I've made some phone calls this year. Security is to be alone with yourself and being in a space where you have to think. I remember just before the pandemic hit, I was going to take on some payments, I was going to buy, some big purchase. And I had a gig that I was supposed to be hosting in New York. And so I was just like, all right, we can take on them payments here because I'm going to make the money there. I mean, like, yeah, man, bruv. And I remember at some point in time, I tried to hold myself. I'm like, Barry, I'm going to stop. I'm going to buy one car. Like, I want, but then I'm going to move them and say, yeah, man, bruv, big car and all kind of things. And so I remember look at myself and say, you know what? It was this idea where I'm like, can I do this, sustain this monthly payment? Because I was just like, I mean, I'm good now, but you don't know. One of my rare good adulting moments. And I was just like, all right, I don't know if I'm comfortable, like, probably like for this next 5 months, I don't know beyond that if I can manage these payments. And so I was just like, all right, and I felt bad.
Barry, I think you're muted somehow.
Sorry. Well, yeah, I'm back.
Yes. Yeah. Go back to your feel bad.
Yeah, when you say you feel bad, that's the last thing we
Yeah,
heard.
and so I remember I just felt bad because you know when they talk and say, "Oh, this year's my year," and I finally ever get this, I'm gonna have the big vehicle, and I was putting it, say it have to happen this year because if not this year, then my work list. And so I remember that happened, and I felt bad, and then the pandemic hit, and the New York appearance just there some stuff that lined up because I always be like, I can't just do one video and then make two little appearances. I'm like, maybe I alrightish, and that's okay. I remember when that hit now, and I'm looking at the bills and stuff now, and I'm just like, literally, I am just barely making it by. I remember one of the point I was just like, if I call mommy and be like, hey, you want to give me some dinner, for like the entire week. And when I looked at it, I was just like, can you imagine if I was forced to like take on like
The
these
payment
payments? What would
and
have happened?
insurance and
I realized
servicing.
how close I was to potentially just like either moving in back with my family or just like being homeless. And that scared me. So the idea of the panic in terms of realizing that the multiple streams of income is like so like it's such an important point. Is like that triggered me to the point where I just had to it was either my mental health was going to suffer or trying to figure things out, but I realized that hey, I can only crash for 2 weeks. I can't do this for 3 months because bills still have to pay. So I gave myself like a week where I just crash. I'm like, oh my God, my work list, that's it. And then after that, I had to just like press on and to pivot. And that's when I started to put, more content. And so that mental breakdown thing, it was really crazy recognizing that the thing that you thought you were doing, anything can happen at the drop of a hat that will cause you to just like start, hit ground zero.
Wow, like
I want to make a point here, Kamala,
Mhm.
because Dottie, Berry, I
Mhm.
was very close to doing the very same thing.
Oh, you too. Ooh.
I was about to put myself, actually, I'd ordered the vehicle. Let me tell
Oh,
you how
yes. Ooh.
brand
And you make
name
a
vehicle.
deposit.
Let me tell you, Berry,
Yes.
I'm making a name and I want to maintain the image.
Yeah.
I'm part of Debonair
Debonair.
everything, right? So I say, you know what? I need to change my vehicle. I need to upgrade. But I think I'd look really nice appearing like
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
And then that adulting moment happened, and you
Hmm.
start to think, no, I am from a financial background, so I started doing the numbers.
Yeah.
Because yes, you can afford the initial payments and
Hmm.
so on, you can acquire the vehicle, but down the road, how much business sense will it make financially? And the point I want to make here for everyone listening in, if you are starting a
Yeah.
business for yourself, if you're an entrepreneur already, always seek sound financial advice. Because we'll do all the calculations in our head and think, yeah, we can scrape through on this. But
Hmm.
when you start to put pen to paper and you have an
Hmm.
accountant going through and you have someone at JN sitting down with you and going through the numbers and giving you the reality check you really need, you realize where your priorities really lies. And
Can be very
I tell you the
humbling.
blessing that happened to me in not
Hmm.
purchasing that brand name vehicle
Hmm.
and going to get something else that was more practical.
Yeah.
I got a vehicle that served me so well this year. And so while I'm speaking of, look at Jamaican roads right now. I'm able to drive on them not so comfortably, but more comfortably than if I had gotten that brand name vehicle. The headache
Yeah.
I would have had, the sleepless nights I would have had to try and maintain that vehicle on these
Hmm.
roads as it is because of just by the rain, you know what I'm saying? Also, I had to make a trip to the country up in the hills because I lost my grandmother this year. After 92 years, she's gone home to be with the Lord, and she's up in the hills of St. Andrew. And that's before the road broke away at Gordon Town. And I'm telling you, the terrain we had to go through over many landslides to get to the community where she would have been laid to rest. The vehicle I have now was able to take me through. Had I gotten that brand name vehicle, but more importantly,
Yeah.
that's the point to drive it home again. Always get good financial advice because we have a culture of graphing. We want to show up and show out. And this year has taught us, if nothing else, to be humble. You have that song that Kendrick Lamar does, "Be Humble,"
Yes.
right? When I've had to walk through the supermarket line with my tin products and see others walking out with them steak and them stuff, and you have to look at it and salivate a little bit and say, I'm still happy that I could go home, have something to eat, and be
Yeah.
comfortable with me and
Mhm.
my peace of mind. That's the most important thing.
Gentlemen, I see a comment here that has me cracking up. Shafe says, Shafe says, preach. She said, I did that in my head calculation. When I did a real budget, box me in my face.
Yes.
It's so important to take the numbers out of our head because
Oh,
we can easily fall prey to, optimism bias,
Oh, yes.
confirmation bias. It's all going to be okay because, may God bless, right? I'm going to work hard, I'm going to deserve it. But when we look at the numbers, and beyond a certain level, if we can project safely to say, I still have this income stream, we have to stop
Mhm.
and take stock. So everybody's loving the feedback, especially from two young men. Um, Someone says, praise God, you recognize your errors. So let me see if I can put up the rest of that. And wise enough to change and make the adjustments. One love, live within your means, says Rani, right? Anissa says, always calculate the cost, understand the interest rate. Will interest be compounded daily or monthly? What is the APR before you sign? Create a spending plan and stick with it. So Anissa is helping us to preach the good word of preparation, and she's giving us some of the lessons to move forward in 2021 with. Taki says, thanks for the meeting. I learned a lot. How JN Bank helped to start a small business because no, that's what I want to do. Okay, so Taki, the team is here. They're dropping the email addresses to contact them in the chat, so you can reach out and make contact with an agent to guide you through the process. There was another question, Barry, about what does it take to be a YouTuber? And I love the question because you and Ryan are sharing so powerfully about the fact that typically when I was growing up, we hear about lawyer, doctor, right? Indian chief. And those were like the major things that children were taught that they can be, right? Teacher, lawyer, nurse, doctor, etc. But here we have people who are growing their channels and they're earning from the creative industry, the orange industry, right?
Mhm.
So I love that, especially in a pandemic, we're exposing persons to the fact that you can earn doing something you're passionate about and that you
Yeah.
love and that makes you laugh and makes other people laugh. So Barry, what would you say it takes to be a YouTuber, the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Yeah, come on, you hit the nail on the head. Like if your profession wasn't mentioned on school challenge quiz, you never did have no job at all. Like that was basically it. And so to pick up on Ryan there mentioned, you're talking about like seeing people going through the changes. It's happening because especially in entertainment, like you realize a lot of the artists and stuff like jump into YouTube channel. They think it's just because of the hype. YouTube has been around. It's really because they've been hit. It look cool, but the reality is that they've hit. Some of them have lost some part of income, so they have to make up fees somewhere else. And so it is just the reality of people like pivoting. And it's nice to see like this thing now. When I look and I see like kids the other day, there are some kids running around like where I live, and one girl had like I think she had like some tissue paper, toilet roll, tissue roll, pretending that it was a camera. And they're like 5 years old. I'm like, hi guys, welcome to my channel. Okay, this is the tree, this is the lizard. Look, and they're pretending to have their YouTube show. And I'm like, this is a direction. This is crazy. This never happened. You don't see this happening like 10 years ago. And so to show the progression. And so, a lot of persons are interested now. And what you need to just identify who you are and what you have to offer. I believe that Jamaica, there are a lot of creators out here, and Jamaica is far more than just comedy. I believe that there are lifestyle people, people who can fix things, people who can, like into fitness, into health, into makeup, into banking. Like there's so many different markets out there. But for you to seek out that, I think even Ryan the other day I saw a video, and it was a friend of mine, and he was trying to, I think he had a wedding, and he was trying to like make a good little toast or something, and he was watching some video of like tips. And when I looked at it, there were hundreds of videos that were there where and they're getting good engagement. And I'm like, people really looking at me in terms of how to toast at a wedding and like how to send that. I'm like, oh, yeah. And it's a regular guy just go up there giving his tips, and people are there. So you don't have to be like, oh, I'm doing a skit. You just have to have knowledge, something that people are looking for. There are videos right there how to open your door when you get locked on the outside. You have to just serve a need and have your personality and be consistent, because I like the idea of talking. I don't like editing. I had to learn these other things because when you're doing YouTube, and especially when you want your YouTube to, for people, you know, I gotta say for people like all of us right here, when we're doing something, we don't want it bleggy bleggy. You get me? So even if you're not an editor, you don't want your editing look slapdash. You want it to have a certain level. So you might have to go take some time and to learn how to edit, to do a thumbnail, all of these different things. But like it's a space, and you know the goal in terms of before you for you to get monetized, you need 1,000 subscribers. You know, people to follow your channel and to have 4,000 watch hours. That just means you have basically a total of, you know, people watching your content for that amount of time. So it seems very hard to achieve, but if you're consistently putting out videos every day, you're supposed to hit that done probably like in 2 months or less. And so that is really it. Mm-hmm.
It's always great hearing it from somebody who's doing it, right? Because if me they come and try say, oh, you know, I think you're supposed to do that, and then like people get lost. But you have worked it. You have where are you at now, Barry, in terms of your number of subscribers for the Dirty Berry show?
Listen, I'm embarrassed to even talk about it, but I'm happy. Okay? Because had I been this consistent from year one, when nobody had a YouTube channel, I would have been far. But at the moment, I think I'm 250,000 there. And for in a space like Jamaica, you know, it is an achievement because Jamaicans know jumping onto where people have channels and understand the idea of subscribing. And so I know that if I, you know, probably migrated and go somewhere else, like I have more of a wider reach. But like I'm very proud of that accomplishment. And that's just a base now. And so you know, I must put out you know, like since I'm here talking to JN, you know, for organizations to know, understand the space of where things are moving in Jamaica, there are a lot of content creators. And I think my experience is that it can sometimes be very difficult to start to do business in terms of to say like, hey, my employer is Google,
Yeah.
you know? And so it's very weird, like, yeah, we need a job letter. And so in terms of navigating that space and trying to like, you know, purchase things and own things, it can be very challenging. So, you know, I'm just putting this out there. So hopefully there can be more information and research and stuff so that, you know, people are familiar with this new space because there's an upcoming crop of people who YouTube and blogs will be their 9 to 5.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, this idea of you have to have a job letter for certain things, I have to be doing this, like, please to, you know, welcome the creatives so that they can want to do business and interact with you guys.
I like Barry, you just preach about a powerful sermon. And Ryan, you want to jump in? What you want to say, Ryan?
Yes, because
you feel it too.
I had last year just to afford, not to afford, but to prove the ability to purchase a vehicle through an unconventional means of income. Now, we're not here to throw numbers out, but a lot of us creatives, we make more than someone who sits in a 9 to 5. I was once a person in the 9 to 5, sitting around a desk from 9 to 5. And when you take home your salary for the month, that's consistent, and that's what they use to say you can afford this or that. For us, we may make it here this week and none for the rest of the month. And then the next month, we'll make enough to cover the last month and the month before. And the numbers just varies. But when you put it all together and look at an annual, you realize that, whoa. I remember, this is just a true testimony. When I went to a financial institution to do my financing for the vehicle, and this is somebody I knew, so we were sitting down chatting, but still doing the work. And when we did the numbers, she literally looked at me and said, Ryan, we need to come start MC events too. Right? So saying that to say this, I know Jamaica National will start to, you know, they're already forward thinking. Look at what we're having here, you know. Yeah. So I know, and I'm just
I have a comment
of Barry that, you know, start to look in our direction a little bit more, because that's a serious
consideration. So I want to check in for clarity from both of you as members of the creative industry. So Anissa is saying that is
registering
your business as a legal entity, right? And then Estoy says that's what that's the same thing he was thinking. So I want to check in with you if, despite that part of it, if you still envision or have experienced difficulties in just, um, explaining, proving, and so on in terms of what it is that you do for a living.
It's the things that you're required to provide. And truth is, in all fairness, because I am from a financial background, I understand the importance of these requirements. However, for us on this side of entrepreneurship, because there are different dimensions to being an entrepreneur. For us in the creative side of things, many of us are not an established company, and that would have initially gone and gotten, registered, and it's just a lot of things, and I had to appreciate doing these things, going through an accountant to do my financials, and getting registered and filing for my taxes and all these things, which some institutions they put you through it more than others too.
And I feel like sometimes as creatives,
because I had to go through different means. Yeah.
I feel like sometimes to us creatives, as Barry was saying, I like to talk. I like to do the content piece, but the back office part is not always our favorite as creatives. And so this is like another lesson again, that the passion is good, but we have to make sure that we have the solid, foundational things, so that when we need to go buy the new bossy vehicle, is even 2025 or 2023, right, Ryan?
Right.
And Barry, that we have these things in place, because obviously it's a little bit harder if we don't have them, a lot harder if we don't have them actually. I'm seeing Villia says not many financial entities will fund creative endeavors. They do not understand it, and once they cannot quantify, they do not see it as tangible. So the conversation, I think, is a powerful conversation we're starting here. And I see Celia jumping in and said, that's why we're here at JN, to help you find a way, right? I love Celia. Now, I want us to have a giveaway, because this audience is absolutely amazing. They're so present, and so I feel like every syllable that you guys say, they are like on your last word, and I love them for that. And so in the spirit of hashtag JN Tears, we have another credit giveaway, this time for those who might have a flow, a flow device. All right, so let me pull up, and we're going to give it away very happily. So for those of you who have a flow device, here is your chance to win $1,000 in call credits. And the voucher numbers are as follows: 646547, 6455, 6163. And if you win it, just drop some noise in the chat, right? Gentlemen, now I want to come to the segment where we talk about personal business a little bit more, right? Within reason, of course. So the pandemic has shown us so many things that we need to be mindful of moving forward, so many lessons for the future, right? But Barry, in talking and listening to some of the content that you have been putting out, I hear a phrase that keeps coming up for you, and I think it's a powerful phrase. That idea of literally being forced to go back home to yourself. Let me just stick in there and big up Donna, who has gotten the credit. Congratulations, Donna.
That's right. From earlier, right?
Listen.
Like she was here from earlier. Okay.
Supporting Nikita. So listen, when you give, you get. So big up yourself, Donna. So Barry, you talk a lot about going back home to yourself. And the pandemic has given many of us, not all of us, but many of us, a lot of time to sit with ourselves and to be present to what's going on the inside. And there's less noise to drown out all of our fears and our insecurity and the things that tell us negative things in our head, etc. What has that process of going back home to yourself looked like and felt like for you?
I mean, here's the thing. I like to work, and I like to stay busy. I think I do the type of content that I do because I like the idea of feeling as if things are chirpy and everything is great, and all of us going to reach heaven, and nothing bad happens on earth. And I like to think, that's how things go. But ever so often, this experience will, remind you that no, things do go down sometimes and things can get bad. And so 2020 definitely provided that. I realized that I enjoy working, but I also work sometimes to kind of mask, confronting certain things about myself. And so when that stopped, um, and then you get into this space now where you try to figure out, if I'm not creating content and being able to go outside and do what I'm doing, who am I? And
Right.
so just like, oh, I'm a YouTuber, I'm doing this. But I remember not even being able to go outside. I wanted to do interviews and vox pops. And I was like, I can't. This thing is just happening. And then I didn't want to create content at home because I've now felt trapped. I needed to breathe. I realized that the 2 little days out of the week where I might go out and have a drink and socialize, it did wonders for my soul. I did not realize. I was just like, I don't love going out every day, but that one day, I'm like, yes, on Saturday night, I'm going to one thing and I feel social. Yeah, ooh. I didn't know that that affected, it did so much good for just my entire spirit. And so I remember being home and I'm just like, like just alone at my thoughts. And I'm just like realizing, say, hey, I see my AdSense money going down. And then I'm thinking back and I'm hearing like, you should I do medicine? I mean, like, why am I end up here? So sit there, I'm gonna end up move back in, and then I'm gonna hear all the things. Why am I go through this? I'm gonna tell you. 10 years later, and so I remember thinking about all of these things, and then one thing, like happened, and it was just this very scary space of me thinking, I'm like, oh, I don't have the car, oh, because I can't afford it. Why I couldn't afford the car, and everything just started to just like come at me and eat away at me, like and then I realized I wasn't putting out videos, and I started to feel bad about that because then I'm like, why am I not mentally tough enough to push through and to just
It's
do the
just
videos?
cycle.
And oh gosh, one thing after the other. And I remember just like calling friends and I'd be like, I'm just here to rant. I mean, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, but I'm here to rant because I also didn't want to go on social media. And as creatives, sometimes a lot of us like go there because it's really your output. It's really that space you kind of want. So I didn't want to go on Twitter and be like, oh my gosh, all right, if you don't hear from me, I hate this. This is the last time. I didn't want to be putting out these type of tweets and I wake up in the morning like, what did I do? And so I had to I had to just like talk to people. And when I realized that I wasn't going through this entire thing alone, my friends were going through that as well. And so we could all like have a community where we could talk about our experiences, and that gave me some sort of peace. And then I realized that it came to the reality of like, hey, the pandemic is here, because the first part was the uncertainty. Remember when they
Mhm.
trick yourself and say, yo, it's just 2 weeks and then we're going back to business
Yes,
as
everybody
normal.
thought it was 2 weeks.
2 weeks, like, oh my gosh, we're back again. And then realized it hit me. I was like, all right, so we have to live with this. And I think when that happened, I was just like, okay, all right, I want to end this year with my mental health in check, with my sanity, because I realized I could lose it. And so I remember I was just like, all right, then if you want to show say you're strong and say you're really, really bad, you get me? You're just like, whatever you need to do, you're going to figure this thing out. And so I remember I tried a little Zoom calls. I said, oh, this not look bad. I feel tapping look outside world. I remember I just went outside to just like literally it's a dead end road. And I just go there, just look and see nature. I'll be like, well, I'm not seeing a slab roof over my head. This feels
Yeah,
nice.
the small
And
thing.
doing these little things to kind of, I remember going to the supermarket and having relationships with the people who are packing up my groceries. Never know them that much before. But no, the only set of people them I'm there, walk on Cecilia, everything all right. I was having these conversations. I'm like, yes. And it felt so good. Like it felt so good just to talk to somebody. And so it did wonders for my soul. But like I just realized that a lot of creatives we don't necessarily, we're not very self-aware to realize what is happening while it is happening. And so we can either go to like these different like outlets, venting, or sometimes we try to act out just because it's weird. It's not normal for us not to do the thing that like gives us life. It's not
Mhm.
normal for Ryan to go a lot like months and not being able to like coast, because that's your mojo. You get me? That's where you come to life, that adrenaline. And so not being able to do that, it really
Takes
chips
control.
chips that a part of your core.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love especially about this segment is a couple of things. One, the self-awareness is one piece of it, right? The pandemic has obviously just given us that space to just be honest about our humanity in a different kind of way. But
Mm-hmm.
also in our Jamaican context, unfortunately, I will say, we don't always foster a culture of allowing, giving men permission. to speak from a place of emotionality or from a space of even just reflection about how I feel and what my needs are and the fact that I need support. So I feel like the pandemic has in many ways normalized to some extent or started to normalize the conversation around mental well-being for human beings, no matter what
Yeah,
your gender identity is, no matter what your sexual orientation is. Like just
yeah,
as a human person, I have needs for support. I have a need for expression. I have a need to just reach out and connect with other people, right? And the other important piece that I love, Berry, is about the fact that even with you too, who are so young, we can easily fall into a trap, I like to call it, of starting to feel like I am what I do.
yeah, yeah.
And which part the next piece there? What about the other pieces of me? Ryan, in your journey, especially for this year, when you aren't as when you haven't been as active, maybe for the first part of this year, in doing what you normally are known to do, did it have a toll on you emotionally as well or psychologically?
Uh, I wouldn't say it did have a significant effect, because for me, the most part, it was the financial side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've always been someone who is comfortable in my own space, in my own head, in my own company. So it wasn't new to me, you know, because Barry can relate. You know, you're that person who everybody knows and you're out there. And everybody would say, yeah, you're an extrovert. No, a lot of us are introverts. Like, I'm good with just me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so whilst it was a new experience, I really took a lot of time to just reflect on me and just see, you know, where am I going? Reevaluate. Let's do some spot checks. Where are you now? And what have you done before that led you to this point? And where else can you go going
Mm-hmm.
forward? And what I realized, and I can relate to some of what Barry said, in the moment, you feel as if, yo, I'm drowning and, you know, I can't swim. This is too much water. But then when you stop and go outside or just stop in the moment, you realize it's actually just knee high water. And if you stand up, you're all right.
yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
not drowning. You're just being extra. And
yeah.
that's what I've learned to do. So there were moments, Kamala, to be honest, where I felt like, yo, I'm just overwhelmed. I mean, what else to do? This is just crazy, you know? But again, because of previous experiences that I could pull on, I was able to just, you know, settle myself, center myself, and breathe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my release is comedy. My relief is in comedy. I'll just go and watch some comedy online and laugh. You see, once I laugh, it starts the healing process. No
Mm-hmm.
matter how broke I might feel I am, or how exhausted I am from whatever stress is happening around me, once I laugh and get a good laugh in,
Mm-hmm.
you start to feel better. Your mind starts working. It's like you recharge, you recalibrate, and you're ready to go again. And that's one of the things I love about my job as an MC and comedian. And look out for more of that as I venture over into that side of things.
YouTube channel.
That, yes, and comedy. I'm looking to
Okay.
do more of that. But I love when I can engage an audience and take their mind off whatever stress they're going through in that moment. You see, for 5 minutes, I have your attention and I'm making you laugh. I promise you, I guarantee you, you're not thinking about the problems you are facing. In that moment, you are laughing for that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same medicine I've had to use on myself. You know,
Mm.
find it wherever. If I'm not able to go around friends and hang out and have that laugh and chat, you know, I find something, some content. Sometimes I watch some Dirty Berry reviews and just laugh, you know, and it helps. It
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
really helps.
So self-care is being normalized for everybody, right? I remember last week I was sharing with the panel that I'm a therapist and I have done sessions where I tell people, oh, listen, I feel what you're saying. I want you to practice this particular self-caring technique. I may not practice it. And the pandemic has has pointed out the hypocrisy of my ways and has set me straight where I now have to be drawing on these things for dear life. You know, the mindful breathing, and the just stopping to center myself, and the going for the walks and the exercising. I've had to be doing these things because my resources are also being taxed in this pandemic.
yeah.
Gentlemen, I've noticed the hand of Winsome Crosale. and Georgia Brown now up. Winsome's hand has been up for a long time. So I'm going to just ask our tech team to give Winsome the mic and allow her to join us on the stage for whatever question she would like to have answered by either of you two. Winsome, are you ready? Are you available? Has the Winsome hand gone down? So maybe that was an error. Let's jump over to Georgia. Georgia Brown, was your hand intentionally up? Apparently not. Okay, is there any member of the audience family who would love to ask a question of Ryan or Berry or make a comment directly to them? You can just use the raise hand feature to let us know that it's you. All right, so I see questions about how to book. Okay, Winsome said it was an error. Thank you for clarifying, Winsome. And I saw a question earlier, I think from Villia, about content editors. So many specific questions, Berry and Ryan, about the hows, you know, of being successful in this space. Content editing, how to do that or where they can find somebody who can do that for them. And yes, I'll lead with that question first for Berry.
How to edit?
Right. So have you trained yourself to do it and to do it better, or have you been forcing it?
Yeah, because you know, and to do what I do, you end up realizing that you are a one man show or one man production. It's like I've been doing all of these things without realizing. Say, you know, I have little skills that I take on, and so you end up have to be forced to be an editor, your producer, your own stylist, you know, all of these things, makeup, your, you know, everything, production assistant, crew, everything they have to do. And so I film everything myself, shoot, edit, everything is done on my own. I'm like a one-man show. And if you're just jumping into the space and you're thinking about editing, try to learn because it's not very cheap. And so I remember when I just started up and, you know, I was like, oh, I'm going to get the editor and find out, say, hey, you know, to edit something that's beyond like 10 minutes, it might be, you know, like less than that. It might cost you like $20,000. If it's anything above that, it can cost more, like 30, 40. And this is not a movie we're talking about. And so if you are just somebody who, you know, you're trying to create content for your YouTube channel, you have to be Bill Gates to be able to like take on all of that, all of that money. So what you have to do now, if you have your iPhone, you go and you get a good editing app. If it's iMovie or something else, Premiere Pro. If you have a Windows device, or Final Cut Pro, if it is a Mac, and you start to teach yourself. There are videos on YouTube that can give you the basics in terms of how to cut and put a music and an intro. So that is it. But content editing, there are a lot of editors out there, but they're not cheap.
And trust me, for many entrepreneurs or for people who decide I'm going to take on a creative journey, especially at the beginning, you have to be all things to yourself. And as you grow now, you can start to allocate the funds, as Nakita said, for somebody to do this for you, and you can put it together. Yeah. But for the first couple of maybe months or maybe even longer than a year, we have to be teaching ourselves how to do this and how to launch this. So that's an important part of the journey as well.
Yeah, especially as creatives, it gets rough.
Yeah, it can be annoying, you know, because sometimes you don't feel like you're naturally good at it, but it has to be done. So that's
and when you're good at it, you're so used to you doing it. When somebody else starts doing it, and you recognize that you do it better, it's very hard to, you know, give the power.
So earlier we were talking about the issue of, you know, when it is that you have become so used to doing this. I am a content creator. I am a YouTuber. I am an MC. I am an event host. Sometimes, I mean, we often see it when people retire, right? Stepping into retirement can be hugely taxing psychologically, because people start to wonder, Lord of mercy, who is me now, right? Because I'm no longer able to do this for 9 hours or 8 hours per day. But I hear it in both of you. Well, I heard it in Berry more strongly. And so, Berry, what are some of the things that you have had to be doing to just manage it? I hear you talk about the self-caring piece, but in terms of talking to yourself and taking practical steps, how have you been just, I don't know if people realize that men have self-esteem issues too sometimes, and insecurities, importantly. Ryan is like, yeah. Because again, the image part of it, how you're socialized and how we are socialized on the receiving end to view men, we just imagine, oh yeah, man, he have 250 something thousand followers. He's good to go. He knows who he is. He
Yeah,
is sure of everything. But I heard you speak in another space about the
yeah.
fact that, there's Berry, there's Dottie Berry, and there's Roshane,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. So that dynamic was interesting for me. So you can share that with the audience a little bit, Berry, and help us to understand how you kind of imagine the two
Yeah.
persona.
I mean, to pick up on the point that you're mentioning about, retirement and stuff like that, I said this year, trying to figure out who I am outside of YouTube, I fully understand politicians that wanting to retire until they're 100 years old. I'm like, yeah, because if you've been doing something all along, it feels weird to just not do it one day. Even if you're 70, it still feels weird. And so, you know, I've I since this pandemic, I've also realized that there are two versions of me. I'm a Gemini, and so like I'm very much like that. And so I recognize that it's very easy for me to give Dottie Berry. You get me? But like the the first name, the first name would not be here doing this. Who would be talking? But no, and I used to separate it. I'm like, if I don't know you, then you don't get Roshane. And so I used to just like initially it was Roshane was what people knew. Then my close friends knew Dottie Berry. So that everybody would think I'm out now open and I don't know nothing. And then my close friends would know said no, I'm chat enough. And then when the Tessa and stuff happened, there was a switcheroo where then Dottie Berry got sent out to people, so then I became more protective of Rashid. And I just kept that one side. I'm like, all right, you're not going to know this. You get me? And so now I'm like, like both of them have their strengths. You get me? Dottie will go get up and say, G's on Pim, the boy that pushed on the girl off of the chair. Oh my God, that they look funny. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But Russian is like, why did he do that? He shouldn't have used violence as and so I'm finding a way to kind of mesh the two now because I'm understanding, say, hey, they work good together, it's yin and yang, and so that's part of the reason why I created a second channel, because I feel like I'm stepping into who I am in like in the fullness of whatever that is and embracing it. And so this is it. No, I'm just like this. I fully fleshed out like who I am at my core, and it's all because of this crazy year.
This crazy year, right? Has
Mhm.
brought some wealth in some strange ways. That's the way I like to think about
Oh
it.
yeah, and the stuff that they asked about in terms of what I've been doing, and the reflections and these things. Of course, it happened because I know I gained weight, and, and so it's why the reason why I'm looking like an upcoming, like reggae artist right now. And I'm just like letting it go. I'm just like, okay, have your moment. This will all be done. You're gonna start fresh for 2021, because it's happened. And then I remember feeling bad, realizing say, going through my little mental health issues, and then buying the ice cream and then just like eating it, and it is what it is, yeah, man. You have to just like allow yourself to just go through it. I think I was trying to prevent myself from really crashing and burning, but you realize that in order to get to the next side, you have to really allow yourself to just like be dragged down to who you are. And then once you're at that place, you can then be uplifted. So I'm at that point now. I'm just allowing myself to go through the motions, feel how I want to feel, and it is okay because I'm talking to my bridge in them, and a lot of them are very emotional, but it comes out through anger. You get me? And I'm like, say it's really I feel a way about that. You get vexed. I was talking to a bridging, and I think him girl he said something, some little remark about like she said something about like the pants or something like like oh the pants can't fit you again or something could come on something like, and he's like him to get vexed the whole entire time about oh the girl a violate and all kind of something. You're like you realize say as because your self-esteem because you you put on a little weight and something about it and you get over vexed with her when really and truly is because you personally feel away, but recognize that that's an insecurity brought on because you put on the weight. And I'm like, yeah, this is how most men tend to look at things. But you have to stop and be like, you know what? I am behaving this way because of this. This pandemic, Wolipa girls to never get to keep up them appearances. And then you're like, hey, how do you look like? You get me? Outside of that, this pandemic make a lot of us kind of aware of our personal, like, breath. Because we wear masks now. So, you kind of You'll be like, wow, this is how I've been walking around and presenting myself in the world all of these years. When it a backfire on me now. So it's a good introspection.
And very, as a psychologist, you are so on point in helping your brethren to reflect on that situation, because
Yeah.
I am one of the biggest advocates for self-awareness and for
Yeah,
teaching
yeah,
people
yeah.
the power of introspection. Like make we
Yeah.
look into ourselves more, because that's where we really get to understand, and therefore we can have more winning lives when we better understand why we do what we do, what
Yeah.
kind of needs I have, what am I trying to achieve by doing this particular thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's there's no way to win in my mind without having that piece of it. So I'm loving the conversation, and I'm hoping that you will continue to spread the message in your little brethren circle about
Yeah, yeah.
awareness and emotions, emotional intelligence, etc. All right.
Mhm.
Ryan, I saw you laughing. You want to contribute?
No, I mean, you know, we've had this conversation, Kamal, about men's emotional intelligence. We weren't raised to experience the various emotions. You are just told, man, not for cry, man, for tough. So we don't idiot when we're now confronted by these other emotions. We don't know where to put it, what to do with it, you know. Man, not for cry, you know. And that's why so many men, when they cry, will look ugly because women want to cry more dainty than we, you know, because they're used to it.
And get the practice.
Yeah, them have it pat, you know.
The practice.
That is true.
But we know,
Yeah, I remember the first time
yeah,
well
man.
recently my father they tell me say him love me. I'm in an emotional line you know, because as much as you hear me talk about emotion, I'm self-aware. So I'm be like, I like a robot, I feel hurt. I am eating this entire tub of ice cream because I'm feeling very insecure and I don't know how to change it. But me no emotion, like me not going to necessarily, me just say it very dry. But I remember my father did say that something there time, my father, and it was very weird. And so I realized that, all right, maybe I need to start showing emotion because this is really bad. My father is there and he might tell me, he might try saying proud of me and he might love you. I think it was some graduation. And him start to struggle. And he might just like, son, hey, you know the thing, you know. And then I am looking at him and say, yo, yeah, and I'm seeing my struggle. And my brain me like, wait, what is? Wait, I'm gonna tell me say. Then I'm starting to think about how me gonna react to me. Like, oh, what is? I don't know what for the something. So then he just like, hey, and him a
Clueless.
struggle, love you. And then him say him love me, and it hit me. You know, them look a friend, look a pit in that, like friend, like, what? Like, that was going on me like what? And it threw me off. And then me see him all out him unfair hug. And then me say, what is this? Me don't know them type of ABC family type of life here. Them that's so rave sister something here. You get me? And so he put out him hand and then I was there like, how we do this? Do you go to the left? Do you go to the right? To navigate that hug. And when the hug like jump in, it's like it felt I was upset with my father because me like, what was that? And I was just like, because it was a hug, and then if I didn't know say I appreciated it. And it was just weird. It's like we were both trying to step outside of how we normally like go about things. And I was just like, all right, maybe this is bad. Maybe we must can show a little bit of emotion a better way. So since then, I've made the effort to first try to be self-aware. You get me? And but the next step is probably to try to show it. That's the next part. But like as I say, I started with my circle and see if we can get a little better with that.
You're on the journey, and I appreciate that more than I can say, right? It's good.
Mm-hmm.
And people need to see that model. So I'm really grateful. Judine says, LOL, that's not true. Some of us cry ugly, right? So, but I think the general truth is there. And Pilar has a good question for Barry and for Ryan. Do you ever feel that what you are providing is no longer a niche and there is not enough space for you to grow? Do you have a plan? She says a plan G, right? I don't know if it's supposed to be B, but any letter can suffice. So let me start with Barry and then I jump over to Ryan.
Yeah, I actually do think about it, especially starting off and then you're seeing other content creators now know the community is like getting saturated. So you kind of figure out like, yo, what is the value that you bring to the table? And everybody has access to a phone to kind of like do all the content. But then I'm gonna say I'm humble to a fault, but no, me I step outside, I just like being humble. And I'm like, hey, I've been doing this thing for 10 years. I feel like I've achieved the household name status, and I believe that what I am doing has longevity. There will be always content, and I feel like for certain things there should be an idea what does Dutty Berry have to say. You get me? So if right now there's a Mr. Maker who win the whole entire Miss World or something like that, there should be a Dutty Berry video there. So if you now have a new next set of athlete who wins something at the Olympics, there will be a Dutty Berry presented there. So I feel like I have established myself and attached myself to the culture. And that is my distinguishing factor. You know, just the way I'm review things, it's going to be a little bit different. And I have not seen anybody in the space lesser. So I feel good knowing that I did something a little kind of niche, you know, that has managed to sort of last. So people can come on the skits and stuff and, you know, whatever. But I feel like this very journalism, you know, like traditional media with new age, and you mix that with a little comedy, a little bit of that Trevor Noah, Ellen, and you make Wendy Williams, and you know, little bits and pieces there. I feel like that is my standout factor, and so yeah, I'm leaning into that, but also I am going to do other types of content. So I've always wanted to do like parodies. I want to do you know, like more things like this in terms of engaging, because I do actually have a show coming up called DBS Exclusive, and it's talking about like creatives. You know, it's almost like my version of like talking to people who are like, you know, who are probably like a local TikTok star, or somebody who literally just get them boss off of Instagram that is 17 years old and making a good amount of money to live on his own in Jamaica, about sharing those stories. So I'm stepping into that sort of space now. So yeah, I feel like I will have my place.
I love that. And what I'm hearing is your brand is being built, or it has been built. So people can do it, but nobody can do it like Berry.
Yeah.
And that will never change because you bring you to the table. And I just
Yeah, man,
love
I
the
have to
fact that
believe that.
you're
Yeah,
giving, yeah,
you have to believe in yourself. Yeah.
absolutely. And that you're giving yourself permission to pivot
Mm-hmm.
even within the realms of your brand. So
See me like coming up here, bo Ryan and Phoebe hosting. Me hear about him before me even see him.
there
Yeah,
you
over
go.
here conversation. And one girl was like, yeah man, the guy there must get money to do something so and so wedding. And if they go on good and stuff like that, I mean, like, you know, yeah, listen. And then they get to match the face to the name. And you're like, oh, okay. Big shot.
There it is.
Big shot.
Dixon, for
So,
you, in terms of the same question from Pilar, do you ever feel that what you are providing is no longer a niche and that there is not enough space for you to grow?
no. The day you think that way, you'll be out of business.
Mm.
You will no longer be relevant. My view has always been keep evolving, keep growing. Where I am today and who I am in this space is because of the fact that I was able to evolve, learn, and grow. Um, like Dr. Berry says, you know, it's moving on to the next thing and not being afraid of change.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm unique in my space. I provide something nobody else does. There are many other MCs out there, many others, more popular, not so popular, in the same industry, in other industry. But it's who you are, the brand that you bring, you know, that niche you create, and why it will continue to be relevant. And it's also being willing to cement yourself by, how do I put it? You can spread your wings and to allow your brand to keep growing and keep going even after you. It's called legacy. How do you
Yeah.
create legacy?
Yeah.
By imparting the knowledge you have, the experience you have in someone else, who will then embody who you are and what you have always brought to the fore. And you will find later on everybody's going to present similar to you and have taken something from you that
Mm-hmm.
makes you continue to be relevant down the road and moving into other areas. Now, for me, I'm one of those jack of all trades. So I've never been confined to just one thing and to thinking that this is it. Like, if I'm not doing this, then what else? I don't think I suffer from that, Kamala, where after I'm retired from emceeing and hosting, then what else am I going to do? I've already thought about that many years to come. What's next? How do I, you know, move on to the other thing and still be relevant and still have that peace of mind? So no, I don't think that I'll ever get to that place where I don't think that, you know, there's, you know, no more space to grow. There's always learn a new hobby. take up something different, learn something all over. You'd be surprised to know how it changes your perspective, right? If you've never done a YouTube channel before, take on that challenge. Challenge yourself to be better than Dr. Berry, and you will find that, wow, this is a whole new world. You feel like, you know, you never start live your life yet. You just have started something.
Be open to I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. We want to have, as we're coming to the end of our class this evening, another giveaway because this is JN Circle Life class, and JN is very generous. Hashtag JN cares. So we would love to have another giveaway, and we're going to therefore ask a question, okay? And the first person to give the correct answer to the question will be gifted with something, a very special token from JN. So we're going to drop the email address in the chat ahead of time to ask the person who wins to reach out and send their contact information to that email address. All right. Now, the question that I want to ask you to respond to, excuse me, what is one piece of advice that Nakita shared with us for those who want to create an additional stream of income? Just one piece. And the first person to correctly reflect that in one chat post, right, will win the very special token from the JN family. All right, that's the one entry coming so far. What did Nakita say we ought to do if we want to have an additional stream of income? Right. And I see where Rochelle Ellis says, be consistent. Ryan and Berry, what do you think? Did she say that?
No, I think the second answer I can confirm. I can't remember. I don't know if I'm sure about the first one.
Yes.
Yes. So you feel like the governance structure is more reflective of the advice that she gave?
But did she say that first one? I just don't remember hearing that.
She did. She did say consistency is key. It wasn't said exactly like that, but I think the essence of it is accurate. So we will not deliberate any further. We will gladly ask Rochelle, I believe it is, Rochelle Ellis, to congratulations. We will ask you to make contact with the JN Circle family. She says, wow, congratulations. Send us an email. Celia will be happy to take your details and we can get in touch with you to give you your gift. Before we say goodbye, we want to launch our post-class poll to get your feedback. She says the first she's winning something. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. You were quick on the draw and you were present for the whole class, Rochelle. Congratulations. We're so happy you took the time to join us. And we have our final poll, Ryan with the jingle bells. And Ryan, you're early for next week's class, but I soon tell you what next week's topic is.
All right.
So, we're going to ask you to respond to this poll. We have 5 questions just to get a sense of how the journey has been, what you're leaving the space with. And as soon as you respond, then I will launch the answer so that we can get a sense of what happened today, how we can further support you, etc. All right. Now, next week, we're going to be talking about having a virtually Merry Christmas, because I feel like so many of us are nervous about the fact that Christmas this year is going to look very different, right? And the anxiety is real. And we want to, as a JN family, create more resources to help you to walk through even hosting, right? Connecting with family who they're foreign and who they're mobile, etc. Keeping the connections going and how to actually make it festive despite the physical distancing. Do you see how JN practical? So jump in next week to get some Ryan jingle bells. We're going to have a lot of jingle bell conversations next week, and it's going to be another amazing class, right? Gentlemen, in 30 seconds or less, final words in terms of looking forward to 2021. Quick vision from each of you for your new year.
All right, let me start. I'm very optimistic, still cautious. I feel as if 2020 definitely has prepared me, grounded me to step into 2021 with renewed vigor and, you know, more of a, you know, with a sense of direction. I feel more motivated. I feel like I have some lessons under my belt that will allow me to, you know, like work with the challenges that might be presented with me next year, because we don't know if next year we might get another, you know, hopefully it don't happen, you know, another, hey, you get me? But I feel as if this year definitely has put me in the space where now I'm like, hey, I understand that things can change just like that. And if it does, I will be mentally able to rise above it.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Ryan, what do you say?
Yo, guys, be grounded, be humble, stay focused, stay motivated, be willing to learn, to start over, and just keep going, no matter what. Don't stop, don't quit, keep it moving. You know, that breakthrough, that success is waiting on you. And if you stop to complain and to be bothered by what's happening, then you're gonna lose your focus, you're gonna get misguided, misdirected, and redirected, and you just miss the mark. And I'm glad I just kept going. It wasn't always pretty, it wasn't always smooth, but yeah, I graduated from 2020. You get my degree.
Can we all raise our paddles to that, right? We're
I want to thank
graduating.
my mom, my dad.
Right.
I want to thank life for sticking with me. You know, God brought me through 2020.
We're proud. Last week's topic was we made it, and we're celebrating again this week that we made it, right? And we're grateful. In wrapping up, we're going to launch the results of our poll, and then we're going to say until next time. But let's read what you guys had to say. My mood has improved since the start of this live class. 69% of you said yes. I love that. I'm happy that we were able to contribute, Ryan and Berry, to improving the moods of so many persons who joined us this evening. I received what I expected from this class. 60% of you said mostly, and 38% of you said totally. So we did our jobs, gentlemen. And Nikita, who was as a lady who joined us earlier.
Yeah.
The next one says, I now have more ideas for how to be creative in this pandemic. 73% of our respondents said yes, 27% said sort of, and nobody said no. That is, I'm so proud of that alone. And question 4, I feel hopeful about having a better 2021. 81% of respondents said YES, and 12% said sort of. A few persons said no, and we hope as we continue to have live classes, by the time it come around, we can help to tackle that. And the last one says, I am more motivated to create an additional stream of income. And this makes me very happy. 65% say yes, and 35% say somewhat, and 0% said no. So we have some emerging entrepreneurs and creatives coming out of JN Circle Live Class session. And I'm very happy about that, right? So thanks again, Berry. Thanks, Ryan. A quick note is that the JN family, the JN Group Limited, is an amazing corporate citizen, and they have created a space where you can access free counseling sessions from the Family Life Ministries through a program that they're running. So reach out to the email address that Celia dropped in. If it is that you are a JN member, it's a special perk for members of the JN Group. If you have a need for counseling, do not hesitate. Reach out and get some support. And to all of you who come every single week, thank you so much. We're going into 2021. We have several more classes lined up, and they're going to be just as amazing, if not more. Let me see. Suzette Michael says, I didn't have any expectations when coming into the session, and as such, I could not say it met my expectations as it surpassed it. Look here, I like it. And Jadine says, very good session, great advice from all presenters, speakers regarding embracing innovation. And I'm so grateful to hear how impactful this session has been. So for all of you who joined us, come back next week, 6:30 p.m., next week, Wednesday. Register, please, and nudge your friends, bring them along. They might win something. So nudge them to come back next week and share the word. And most importantly, take care of your good selves. We love you. Thank you so much. That's it for me. Until next week, much love as always from me and the Jane family.
Bye-bye, guys.
Oh.
Thanks for having us.
Mine upside down.
Want to get a photo up?
Oh, my mind, with mine just, I think my camera weird. Jeez,
it's weird.
Why am I appearing like the YouTuber here?
Thank you, Pilar. Thank you, Janice. Thank you, Samantha. We love all of you. I will see you guys next week. Blessings.
Kamala, big up yourself.
Yes, Kamala, thanks you. You are awesome as always.
Yeah, man, very nice. But can I ask a quick question? Ryan, have you MC the wedding over Zoom?
not.
That would be so cool. It just seems like a very interesting space if that opportunity presented itself.
It's sort of. So one of the weddings I was supposed to do in March that got postponed. They still went in and got married. So I just did a short stint to give a preview of what they'll be getting at the actual reception.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Preview, pivoting and creativity. That's why we came tonight and we nailed it. Thank you guys so much.
Yesterday though, Barry, I did a carol service yesterday, right here.
Oh, see there? Someone tell you there. Can you imagine a wedding where all the guests are in this different living rooms, like eating like dinner that got sent to them, like by the caterer because of COVID, and then he's there like emceeing the entire thing, and then the husband and wife they're in their own little space doing. All right.
It's a thing, guys. Innovation is the name of the game. Have a great week. Take care of your good selves, and I'll see you guys next week. Blessings, Barry. Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you, tech team. See you guys next week.